Hey you guys, it's Amy Gretchen. Welcome back. In this video, I'm going to share with you how I keep up to date with my project life, or how I'm able to tell my stories on my project life layouts even if I'm not up to date. So there's a couple of reasons why I take notes every week and write down my stories kind of in a journal format, and I'm going to share that with you today. So these are the Project Life journals that I have. These two are Moleskine, and then these two are Traveler's Notebooks. So this is what I started with, and I'm just going to open it up so you can see. At the very beginning, I started Project Life in 2013, and it was very clear to me by week 3, it was very clear to me that I needed a way to be able to hold my stories, because from week to week, I would forget things. Most stories I will remember if it's associated with a photo, but if it's not associated with a photo, I can forget those little details. And so I found this to be invaluable, that I could write down and jot down little bits and pieces. Some are more detailed, some are very vague, but that would help me remember what was going on in the week and help me be able to tell my story. So very early on, I knew whether I was up to date or not that I wanted to write these stories. Now, definitely when I'm behind, this is amazing, because then I can go back and really see what was going on during the week. But like I said, even when I am up to date, it's really great to be able to hold those stories until I'm ready to tell them. So you can see right off the bat, like I said, what I really started with was I just did a dash, and I would write down bullet points throughout the week. And I think it was probably about, let's see, in March, was it March? Yeah. So it looks like the beginning of March, I started, instead of just doing bullet points, I started to put those bullet points down on the day. So I would put Monday and the things that I wanted to remember about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and on and on. So I kind of moved from just doing bullet points to actually putting them on specific days. And this is how I've done it ever since. You can kind of see I'm going through, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Now, I know it's odd that I'm starting on the right side and moving to the left, but when I first started, I didn't anticipate that I would need this side of the page. And so just over time, and you can kind of see as I come down here over time, I'm writing more and writing more about what's going on in the week. So the other thing that I do with my journal, or my Project Life journal is what I like to call it, I lay out the spread and the page protectors that I'm going to use. And I do this in 2 ways. So there are some times, and I do this especially now, where if I've taken a picture or there's something specifically I want to tell, and I know that I want to tell that story, I will write it down. So I will either say, there's a family picture, or I will write down something specific that I want to, like for instance, this said, didn't eat sugar. So I wanted to remember and make note that I didn't eat sugar this week, and obviously that's kind of a milestone for me, because I'm always trying not to eat sugar, but I always do. So you can see that obviously 4 years later, I'm thinking about the same thing. But that doesn't go along with a photo, but that's a story that I wanted to tell. So I highlighted it there so I wouldn't forget. So I also did that. Another way I use this grid is I would sit in front of my computer and I would look at the photos that I had, and then I would specifically say, okay, because you can see this one, I think this is design B or C, I can't remember offhand, but it's got the vertical or portrait 4x6 photos, so 4 of those, and then the landscape 3x4s going down the middle. So, and hopefully you can see that well in the video, but I would look through my photos and I would say, okay, I've got this photo, and you know, I looked through the vertical photos that I had that I wanted to use in those spots, and then my horizontal 4x6 photos, and I wrote them all down. Now you can see that I've got, let's see if I have another one, that I have a check mark by some of these. So I would write a check mark if I printed out the photo. So I would write down the photo that I wanted, and then I would do a check. Now, during this time, I didn't have access to my own printer, so I didn't print at home, so I sent everything away. And so I didn't want to spend more money. And well, especially now that I have my own, that I'm even printing at home, I don't want to print more photos than I need because it costs even more money to do it myself at home. It's more of a luxury. So I only want to print what I absolutely need. And so that really has helped me to only print the photos that I need. So yeah, again, you can see the check marks, and it just really helped me to know, because when I was looking through my photos, I knew, okay, I've got more of these 4x6 portrait photos that I want to do design B, or I want to do design A, or whatever it is. It would really kind of help me figure out what design I wanted to do. Now, when I got into, I think, 2000, probably the beginning of 2014 and the beginning of 2015, I did design A lot more. So I didn't use as many of the other page protectors as I had in 2013. So anyways, I just felt like for me it was one less thing to have to worry about. So let's see, in this book I've got 2013 and 2014. So I just want to show you. You can see at the beginning of 2014, I've got a lot of stuff written down here. And then I have less and less. Let me get, as I go on, I'm going to have less and less. You can see in May, in June. And the reason for this is, well, it's twofold. I don't do this as much as I did before. I'm using my Lightroom collections a lot more to help me isolate the photos that I want to print. But 2014, around, I think it was week 7 or 8, I moved, or I started packing up to move into the house I currently am in. And so I had to pack up all of my studio supplies, and I didn't have anything to work with, and I just got out of the habit of doing it. And so by mid-March, so probably mid-March, this time 4 years ago, I stopped working on this album. And you know what? I never really picked it back up. And I don't know why. I don't think it was out of guilt, but for whatever reason, I just never got back to it. And I always really wanted to, but I felt like every week that went by that I didn't do it, it just felt a little bit more overwhelming and a little bit more overwhelming. I never got to it. So that is actually something that I want to finish and work through this year. Since I'm up to date now, I'm feeling like I can definitely get more, do another week per week. So maybe do a 2017 and a 2014, just so I can get this album done. But as I go through, now you can see none of these stories are told at all. And this one is blank because it was a week in the life. And so I have notes somewhere else. But you can see that I have all these stories already written down. So when I go to do my project life, I can read through these stories. I can look at the photos on my computer, and then I can go through and figure out how I want to lay it out. Another reason why this is really great is if you do things in batches. So if you look through your photos and you figure out what stories you want to tell, you can write everything down, and then maybe 2 days later is when you can finally actually physically put it all together, but you already have your ideas written out. So that's another great use for that as well. So that's 13 and 14. 15, I did the exact same, no, that's not 15. 15, I did the exact same thing, except for one thing. So let me pull over my 2014 album and move this aside. All right, you guys, so in my 2013 and 14 albums, I would do this weekly card. Now, I got this idea from Kathy Zilski, and she would write down, you know, this is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you get the idea, and write down little snippets that happened that day. Now, I really loved that because you can only tell so many stories in this 12 by 12 album. I think this 12 by 12 is a perfect size. I know some people probably want to have theirs a little bit smaller. I probably could do bigger, but I don't want to because this seems perfect. But I feel like there is a lot of stories to tell every month, and because you're not able to, I thought that this was a really good way that you could do the highlights with your photos, and then you could tell little snippets of things that were going on during the week. So I really liked this card. But in 2014, I got tired of doing this card. So I think, like I said, I think I got through week 7 or 8 through this album before I ended up moving. And when I've come back to work on this album, I did not want to do this again. So in 2015, when I was working on doing this card, I actually decided I don't like this card anymore. This was the most intense thing I felt like I did every week. I felt like it took so much time to take this album, or excuse me, this journal that I had already written everything out, and then to type it back on my computer and format everything. It just took a lot of time, and it was like the worst part of Project Life. And I promise, it was one of those things that I almost didn't even want to work on it because I didn't want to do this card. So let me move this aside. So this is when I decided to go with the Traveler's Notebook. So you can see in my 2015 book that this is the last entry. Yeah, so it was the end of August, the beginning of September, and I decided I'm not doing that weekly card anymore. It's too overwhelming. It's too much. I just want to be able to, you know, I have this written down already. I don't want to have to write it down again. So I just need something that I can fit inside the back of my album. And I made a bold move, and I decided that I was going to stop 2015 and just move forward with my Traveler's Notebook. Normally, you would probably want to finish out the year, but I just wanted to start doing it right then. So that is why I went to, the Traveler's Notebook. Now I'm going to pull over my 2016 album, and I'm going to show you how I fit my Traveler's Notebook into my album. So this is really my main reason why, because all the stories that I had, I wanted to remember all these stories, and I didn't want these to get lost. You know, you move and things get lost, or, you know, I wasn't sure where to store it. So I decided, no, I want to keep them with the album. So, for instance, you could, you know, turn to, let's say, August 8th, and I apologize, I know you can't really see what I was looking at, but I'm going to come here to August 8th, and then I can look at more of the stories from that week. So I'm able to tell the stories, you know, as many stories as I possibly can on that 12 by 12, and then I can see more specifically what was going on during the week if that's what I want to do. So I take my Traveler's Notebook and I'm storing it in these envelopes. Now these envelopes came from Studio Calico. This is what their kits come in now. And I just punched holes with the Crop-A-Dial. Now I have this Crop-A-Dial that would work. It has the 3/16 hole, which is what I use, and they also have an 1/8 inch hole, which is a little bit smaller. And then there's this tool, and I don't know if this is called the Crop-A-Dial tool as well, but this punches a standard 1/4 inch hole. I like this mostly because I like things to fit a little bit tighter. Sometimes I might want to use the bigger size, but I mostly use this Crop-A-Dial. If you've seen any of my Project Life process videos, then you'll know that I use those tools. So I just punch the holes and stick it right here in the back, and then I can easily store my traveler's notebook. So that's really the reason why I started doing it, is because I wanted to keep the details from the week, and I really love that since I was writing it down, this isn't something I'm going to throw away. This is definitely something that I want to keep, but I wanted to make sure that they were together so that they didn't get lost. So that's the main reason why I did that, and I'm really happy that I did, so I could just put my stories right in there. So let me move this aside. All right, so this is my current Traveler's Notebook, and this is the Midori brand Traveler's Notebook. I really just liked the basic brown. There is a ton of I shouldn't say a ton, but there's definitely a lot of traveler's notebooks out there that you can buy. There's leather ones that are made of color. There's vinyl ones. Check Etsy. There's a ton of different brands on Etsy. This is the original Midori. Like I said, I really liked the leather. I thought it was really soft. I liked the color. The notebooks that I'm using, let me just slip this one out. This is the Midori brand notebook as well, and this is something you could probably make yourself using one of these notebooks as a template. But I just really like this because I really like the grid format, and so I prefer to use this as well. So this is what I'm using, and I've actually got 3 notebooks in here right now. I've got my Project Life journal, and then this middle one, I'm not really sure what to do with it yet. I had thought about, I'd really thought about getting into bullet journaling, and so I was trying to, at the end of December, trying to figure out if that's something that I'm interested in. So I was kind of using it for that, but I've kind of had a struggle with that. That's probably a video for another time. But then my last notebook is my notes, so just stuff that I'm taking notes on. So I really love that I can take this with me, and actually I pulled this out as well. This goes with it as well. Let me just put this back in. It just slips behind everything. Everything's kind of on this main elastic right here that comes with it, and I actually bought some separate elastics. If you're interested more in traveler's notebooks, there is a ton of videos on YouTube, and I would say just look up, search traveler's notebook, and there's a lot of different videos that can show you how to put them together so you can get as many notebooks as possible. I did have 4 notebooks in here at one time, but I decided I thought it was just a little too big, and I wanted just to do 3. But there's a lot of different things you can do, and there's different pockets, or you could have credit card holders. But this one works just so I could have some stamps. And like I said, it's just really simple. I do have this little pocket here, but I like being able to grab this and knowing that I have a place for notes, and knowing that I can jot down some stories as I go throughout my day. All right, you guys, so just a couple things that I want to mention before I end this video. One thing that I do design-wise is you can see that I'm using a date stamp. This is a rolling date stamp. This is just what I use for Project Life. And I have done that. Now you could easily, you don't have to use a rolling date stamp, but I have it. It's easy to use. And in that respect, I've just gone ahead and I've prepped the rest of this book here. You can see that I've just written down all the dates. So it's one less thing that I have to do. I haven't done my box. I haven't drawn out this box or anything like that. And if you are interested, this is I'm using just the Midori brand Traveler's Notebook. And this is, I did 9 boxes for the 12 of 12. So this is actually 18 across, and it fits just perfect. And that way, I think a 3x4, it's not like an exact, like the other one, it was kind of exact. It doesn't cut across exactly, but obviously it works out for the intended purpose. So the other thing that I wanted to mention that is in regards to stories. So you can be as specific or as general as you want with this Project Life album. So sometimes you can see here that I'm like, no school, girls clean their room. So that's just kind of a general thing of what's going on. Sometimes I'm saying like I went to lunch with so-and-so with a friend. And then sometimes I will be very specific about what we talked about. You know, maybe there's something that's on my mind or something that I'm trying to work through that I'm asking a friend's help with, or, you know, it could be anything that's going on at the time, you know, something going on with my child, and then I want to write a little bit more about that there. So keep in mind that you can be as general or as specific as you want. So this is definitely, for me, this is definitely a journal. So it's here to help me to be able to fill in my pockets and tell my story about my week. But it's also, and in the way that I'm doing it now, it's also a way that I can go back and I can see more detail about our week and what was going on. So keep that in mind when you're writing this. How specific and how general do I want to be? Like when I go back and read this, how much information do I want? Now, if you're awesome at journaling, just in general, then you might not need something like this. I'm not a great journaler. And so, you know, sometimes being more specific or adding more detail to my story helps me be able to tell that story, even if I haven't fleshed out the whole thing. Let's say if I wanted to tell the story in its entirety, it would take up several pages, but that I can get a little bit more details written down. So it will help me when I want to flesh out that story and tell it a little bit more. Of course, you could write as long as you wanted, and you could do pages and pages. I've obviously just designated 2 pages just so I don't have too many notebooks, but you can do it however you want. There's also someone that's, I think, very inspiring on Instagram. I believe her name's Andrea Collects, and she takes, she probably takes a highlighter. I'm not sure what she uses, but she said, I think she does storybooks as well, and I think it might be a traveler's notebook, and she'll take a marker. This is a Tombow brush marker. You could use a highlighter or whatever you had. And then when she decides what stories that she wants to tell, she, you know, crosses it off with the highlighter so that she's made a mark so that when she goes back and looks, she'll know, oh, these were the stories that I actually told with my Project Life. So I don't know, just a few things to think about. Anyway, you guys, I hope that this video was helpful for you and gave you guys some inspiration of whether or not you would be interested in doing a journal for your Project Life. Like I said, it really helps you to be able to tell your stories that you know, maybe you're behind on, or even the stories that you're doing week by week, because you can't remember every detail. So I find that it really helps to be able to tell the stories that you want. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much for being here. Like always, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below and I will definitely get to them. If you guys like this video and would like to see more of the things that I'm doing to help me with my Project Life, please give this video a thumbs up, and we will catch you in the next video, you guys. Bye.